Now, this is 2 straight pressers that Dunleavy has conducted, in which I thought, oh, Dunleavy's getting a little spicy here. The first one was when he talked about Jonathan Kuminga.
When you make a demand, there needs to be demand on the market. So we'll see where that unfolds.
Oh, you don't hear GMs talk like that. It's a little shocking, especially coming from Mike Dunleavy, who's really mild-mannered, usually mild-mannered, subdued, cool dude. Then Saturday night happened, and we heard from Steve Kerr on 95.7 The Game. We heard from Draymond Green on his podcast. We heard from Draymond Green Tuesday night after their loss to the Sixers.
It's a possibility that I might get traded. That's kind of just what it's like. It's business as usual for me, though. But, I think a lot of people want to know, like, how I feel about it. Like, am I upset about it? Or, like, I'm not at all. Like, I don't. If that's what's best for this organization, that's what's best for the organization. I'm not like, oh, man, they me over or something like that. Like, I don't really feel that way.
This is probably the first time, I would say, since I've been here, that his name has ever been really mentioned in trade talks. So it's different.
They acknowledged that he was part of the trade discussions for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And for whatever reason, Dunleavy basically said, yeah, we get calls about Draymond, but weren't trading.
I'd walk that back a little bit. His name was not in conversations, other than the ones where teams call me and ask about him, which they do every year. So nothing's new there. The idea that he stayed with the Warriors past the deadline was greatly exaggerated. It was never a possibility of him not being here, or remotely close, to be honest. And I've conveyed that to him. I think he knows that. But when stuff comes up in the media, I think it feels different for the players. And I think that's the first time it happened for Draymond. So he's dealing with it in a certain way. But the reality is nothing was close and nothing was considered. And when Draymond was not being shopped or talked about in deals.
And he was spicy. So where did that come from? What is the follow-up? What is the fallout after that, Monte? Because I know you're tapped in. That happened on Saturday night. I was befuddled on why Dunleavy. I said this earlier today when I was on 95.7 The Game. He had an off night. It wasn't his best showing. I was stunned, Monte.
That's putting it politely.
Trying to be politically correct.
We knew that they were looking at Jaren Jackson Jr., which would have been a great move, I thought, if they pulled it off. But when Giannis came available, the Warriors pivoted. And when they pivoted, Danny Ainge pounced and got Triple J, 3 first-round draft picks. But Danny Ainge has many first-round draft picks to move. So they lose out there, and they don't gain Giannis, which is always going to be a long shot because we were never sure that Milwaukee was serious about moving him. But now he pivots to KP. If KP can get on the floor, it makes sense. And again, expiring contract at $30.7 million. So I can understand this move. But then he gets up there and says that they never considered trading Draymond. When any fan with the rudimentary knowledge of the NBA and how trades work realize you can't get a big salary guy without moving a big salary guy. They're not moving Steph. Mike said he didn't envision moving Jimmy. So Draymond, it became real when Steve talked about it and asked me about his wife.
He's like, how's Hazel handling it? And that's when it got real to me. I was like, I haven't spoke to her about it. It's not something we've spoke about. That's when it got real to me. So today on the way to the game, I spoke to my son about it.
And Mike to get there and say, never considered, it was true that they were never close. But to say it was never considered, everybody's like, whoa, what, given that Nick Young look.
I don't understand why he would go that route. Is it to save face? Is it to make amends with Draymond Green? Is there going to be some friction there? I don't believe there's going to be friction whatsoever. I think both parties understood the deal. Like, look, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Somebody's got to go if we're going to pull that move. Now, they did. But why would Mike? And then our boy Danny Aberman for the SF Standard.
Regarding Draymond, I'd assume nothing was close in your pursuit of Giannis. What would give you confidence?
Why is that?
Because he would have to be in the deal, or Jimmy.
Okay, well, you're putting words in my mouth. Okay. So that's an unbelievable assumption.
So was Jimmy then on the table?
No, we're not doing that. I'm not going on the roster talking about who's in trades and who's not. We don't do that.
I hadn't seen that side of Mike Dunleavy since he's been a GM of the Golden State Warriors, Monte.
Yeah, I don't know what his purpose was, but he obviously, I think it really damaged his integrity. No, when you do something like when you tell somebody, when you say something that people already have evidence to the contrary, it's like, okay, you at the very least you're going to begin to question whatever he says from here on out.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, you're gonna. I mean, you might not say, "Oh, he's a liar," but you got to go, okay, was he telling the truth here? And I don't think that was much of an issue before those comments.
But there was rumblings, right? Because of the Jordan Poole, like, hey, Jordan Poole's part of our future. And then 36 hours later, Jordan Poole's in the nation's capital.
Yeah. But you understand how that works sometimes.
No doubt.
Yeah, except when he said he didn't envision trading Jimmy. If they had traded Jimmy, it would have been like, okay, yeah, things change.
We would have understood that.
Yeah, things change. But this is different. This is evidence to the contrary that we already knew.